What's good, YouTube? Jay Lee here. Today I'm going to do a quick little video about hypergamy. Um, I watched this really interesting film about 10 years ago. It's called The Company Men by Ben Affleck. And at the beginning of the film, he's this young executive, or I don't know what he does for a company or something. He's got a really nice job, essentially, right? Probably making 5K or 5 figures a year, and lives in a nice house, a nice neighborhood. And the company that he works for has to go through a series of layoffs, right? So he gets laid off, and then it's actually a pretty good film as far as films go. He gets laid off, and he has to go through this series of finding a new job, and essentially he's working at finding a new job as if anyone would work a regular job. So he's checking in at 8 a.m. and working until 5, trying to find a new job, calling companies, sending out resumes, etc. Right? But during this time, there's this scene where, because he's a married guy and he's got kids, there's a scene where he's walking with his wife, and she's putting this pressure on him. She's like, "What are we going to do? You know, you're supposed to be the man of the house. You're supposed to be the leader. You're supposed to be the breadwinner. What are we going to do here?" And the way she said it and the way the scene was set up was as if she was like, "Hey, man, you know, you're the man. You need to go out and do this, and I'm looking to you." And the way it was set up, I don't know if they meant to do this or not, but this is what came out in the acting was, I think this woman would leave this man if he didn't get another job. And I think that is pretty common. I think that happens a lot. When I was younger, I was about 21, and I was working in a smaller city than I live now, and I was downtown, and my job was in this building that was in the middle of downtown at this mall. Um, and I was walking home after my shift got off. I was taking the bus and I was walking home, or I was walking to the bus station, and sometimes these homeless guys would come up to you and talk to you. And in the city that I lived, they weren't that bad. They weren't like smelly or whatever. They were just homeless guys, right? And sometimes they would come up and talk to you and make small talk because that's what kind of city it was. So this homeless guy came up to me and he talked to me, and I was asking him, you know, about his life and how we got to be homeless and things like that, because it's a cordial type of city, and I'm a cordial, kind type of person. So I was talking to him and asking him about how he became homeless. He said first he lost his job, then he lost his house, then his wife left him in that sequence. And he was one of the most depressed people I've ever met. He was so down and depressed. He told me his life story. Now, again, this was like 15 years ago. I was very young. And during that time, I didn't realize it, but I just thought, oh, this poor guy. You know, as I got older, I realized, yeah, that's the sequence that happens. You lose your job. Because you lose your job, you can't afford your house. So you lose your house. And because you lose your house, you lose the lifestyle that you had. And then your wife leaves you. And it's like, wow, why would his wife leave him if he lost his money? Because her love is conditional. Because it only goes as far as the life the man can provide for her. In many cases, I'm not going to say all cases, I won't even say most cases. Maybe in a lot of cases the woman would stick with the man. I don't know, but I don't think so. I think if you go outside and you look in all these houses, there are people, there are couples in relationships, and people are so blue-pilled they don't realize this. They walk outside and they see all these nice houses, etc., and they see, you know, all these people who you know, supposedly are living these great lives. They've got these nice houses, and you're like, oh, that's the life. Gosh, you know, they found the love of their life, and now they got a house, and it's all good. But when you get older and you take the red pill, you realize, hey, wait a minute. Without all the money that these guys make and able to afford these houses, there would be no life. There would be no love. There would be no quote unquote true love. And I thought, wow, you know, as I got older and I realized what that was, I was like, yeah, that's hypergamy. That's female nature. That's women only loving men on the condition that men are providing.
Okay, now of course, now we got this new landscape, this new social and financial world, socio-economic world that we live in, where women can work. But guess what? Women's nature is still women's nature, and they're still not going to be the breadwinner while a guy is a homemaker. That rarely, if ever, happens, right? We never see that. We never see a woman going to work, bringing home the bacon, the man staying at home raising the kids, or the man staying home and just doing nothing. But if a woman does that, it's perfectly fine. Right? If a woman just stays at home, does nothing, while the man goes and makes the money, it's perfectly fine, right? So, that's the landscape that we live in, and that's the reality of life. So it's like, is her love really real, or is it a hypergamous love? If you lose your job, is your wife going to stay by you? That's the test of love, right? That's the test of love. Is she really going to stick with you when you have nothing, when you go through hardships, when you get sick, when you lose your job, when you lose your house, you can't pay your mortgage, you have to move from a house to an apartment, or you have to move in with family or something? Is she still going to stick with you, or is she going to be like, this guy's a loser, and hightail it out of there, right? Something we all have to think about. So I just want to share that with you guys. Appreciate it. Thanks for listening. J Elite Northwest Podcast. Peace.